Hey everyone, today's masterclass is for all of you entrepreneurs out there who are feeling stuck, who are feeling stressed out, and maybe even a little bit burnt out from your business. I see you over there with the endless to-do lists, the endless late nights, and the constant pressure to keep up. Here's the truth, your business should be working for you and not the opposite way around. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's masterclass, how to build a business that you love, that keeps you feeling energized as opposed to constantly feeling drained. My name is Yusra and I work with entrepreneurs just like you to help build businesses with more freedom, where you're working less and earning more. By the end of the session, you are going to walk away with a clear understanding of where in your business is feeling out of alignment, and a step-by-step practical roadmap in order to fix this alignment. I drop these deep dive masterclasses every single week where you are gaining real value. I'm telling you guys, a lot of this information lives behind a paywall. It typically lives behind, a consulting session that you have to pay for, but I drop it for free every single week on here, and my ask is that you just drop a like if you find it valuable and hit that subscribe button if this content appeals to you. So getting straight into it, most entrepreneurs stay in a hustle trap, stay in a position where they are feeling stuck, stressed out, and on the verge of burnout because of typically one of two reasons. The first is that more hours worked equals more money. Now, this relates to both a mindset, but this also refers to an actual business structure and a business model that keeps you stuck operating in this position where you have to constantly trade not just time, but a lot of your time for not just money, but usually not as much money as you're looking for. The second area where people get stuck in a hustle trap is believing that if they are not working more, they're not valuable. And this is a huge myth and also a limiting belief. Because here's the thing, guys, we have been so conditioned by the mainstream way of operating in this world, in this country. And it's really difficult to break out of it even when you are no longer working a 9-to-5 job. Because here's the thing, the idea of our value being tied to productivity and our value being tied to working more hours actually comes from the Industrial Revolution. It comes from the 9-to-5 or typical corporate structure, where that is how our salaries are understood. We understood that we are getting, X amount of salary because we are working 40 hours a week. And the only way to make more, even though most people are only working 40 hours a week, is to become more valuable in terms of your productivity to a company, right? So you become more valuable by getting more degrees, apparently, because that allegedly translates to having an increased skill set, which theoretically that's true, but we all know in this day and age that's absolutely not the case at all, right? And the issue is this structure of how we're supposed to be living our lives and how we've come to understand our value, our productivity is ultimately out of date, and it's out of whack with our position as entrepreneurs. So it's out of date because, first of all, of major technological advances, things like AI, also with online learning, right? Like people, it's not that you can just take a class online through a typical university, but you can also come online and find a video like this, which is completely free, and walk away from it knowing so much more at the end than you did before you watched it. So these components around technology, around challenging a traditional educational institution, what has happened is the traditional societal complex hasn't yet caught up to the reality of most people, right? So the reality of most people is that they would rather not be in debt in order to learn new skills so they can learn those skills for free. And the reality of most people is that They no longer have to be as productive as an individual today as they had to previously have been when our society was so dependent on manual labor, because what is valuable now is our knowledge, is our minds, is our problem solving capabilities and our creativity. So many of the things that make us human. And a lot of the other components that don't fall into that, well, we're able to depend on technology to do the heavy lifting for us. We're able to depend on AI to do a lot of the work for us. So what ends up happening is we believe these myths and we stay stuck in these ways of understanding that don't apply to us because they're out of date, and also don't apply to us because we're not talking about a traditional job. We are talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about business ownership. Such a massive part of you being able to build a business that you love is having clarity and alignment. And we're going to reference the sort of clarity and alignment you should have as we continue on throughout this masterclass. But this first form of clarity and alignment that I'm talking about is around yourself, is about the value and the impact that is there by serving your clientele. And this is so important because the most successful businesses aren't built on a hustle trap, right? They are built on clarity and alignment. So this first form of clarity and alignment that we're talking about is this idea that you need to ditch these limiting beliefs. And the reason why it's so important to ditch them is because we are on a path trying to do something that most people won't get to do, right? Most people will not get to be a successful solopreneur, will not get to run a small business, where they are able to have an impact with their clients, pay people a living, generous wage, and also run it in a way that is fully aligned with them and where they're happy. They don't need to constantly take a vacation from their business because they love the work that they're doing, okay? So we're trying to do something that not a lot of people actually do successfully. And in order to do that, we have to do things differently. We can't do things the way that everybody else does them and expect that we are going to somehow achieve different results. No, we have to look and observe and assess the way that other folks are doing things, the way that the marketplace is running, the general culture on work, and understand, okay, yep, want no part of that, right? Like, that's not for me. Therefore, I need to do things differently. Let's just start off with writing 3 things. What parts of your business are feeling draining and heavy in the moment, okay? And what parts light you up and feel easy? And here's my hypothesis. My guess is the things that light you up and the things that feel easy are the things that are in your zone of genius, okay? They are the things that you are good at. They are the things that you have expertise and experience around. And they are the things that you feel confident making decisions in. And the things that feel draining and heavy are the things that are not in your zone of genius. They're the things that you're not an expert at, that you don't know how to do well. And because of those factors, they take you so long to do. It's like, it feels like it's taking you so long to do these things that you're not good at, you don't enjoy doing, you're not an expert in, and you're only achieving a mediocre result. That is my guess. And I would think that the only reason why something that is in your zone of genius might feel heavy at this time, might actually feel something that's draining, is because you don't actually feel like you have the capacity to adequately engage in it and do it in a way that you love it. So let's say, for example, you are a photographer or you run a photography studio and your zone of genius is anything around the photography. Chances are the reason why you might feel like this is one of 3 things that feels heavy and draining for you at this moment is not because you don't want to do it, but it's because you just don't have the adequate capacity to do it and enjoy it. It's because you have to do everything else. Like, you have to do the customer service, you have to do the invoicing, you're focused on the marketing, you're focused on the sales. So because of all these other components, something that you truly love or is in your zone of genius might sometimes spill into something that feels heavy and draining. And this is a really delicate and scary place to be in, because this is when you are most often on the cusp of burnout. And when I talk about burnout, guys, I'm talking about it from my own experience. I really and truly had to burn my life down many years ago, because I realized that the trajectory and path that I was on was not sustainable. I literally found myself in a position where I was burnt out. I did not leave my own bed, my room, my house for close to 2 months, and I was sleeping 12 hours a day. And I wasn't depressed, I was simply just exhausted. And once my body felt like it was safe, it completely crashed. And from that point forward in my life, like, my life has done a complete 180, guys. You don't understand. I was the epitome of hustle culture. That's who I was before. But I had to do a complete 180 because I realized that my path forward was not sustainable operating the way that I was at the time. So I'm telling you guys from my own experience that when you are in a position where everything is feeling draining and heavy, you have to be careful. You are on the cusp of burnout, likely. So once you have written down the 3 things that are causing you to feel heavy and draining, and the things that are feeling light and easy in your business, this is actually already a major clue, right? It's giving us that first clue into where things need to shift. And really, one of the primary purposes of this masterclass is to show that that shift needs to occur, because the goal isn't to work harder, right? The goal is to have us aligned with a business that is sustainable for the outcomes, the vision, the freedom that we're looking for. Because when the business is fully aligned, right? Once we are aligned, once the components, once our business model is fully aligned, then it actually becomes even easier to run our business, right? It becomes easier to sell towards specific clients. It becomes easier to actually get up and do the work every day because you're excited about it, because you're good at it, because you know the impact that it has. And ultimately, it's just more fun for you. Again, we want to build a business that we love, not that we have to escape from. So let's talk about escape for a little bit. Let's talk about this escapism that I would argue most people in our society are falling into, through vacations, through partying, through alcohol, and other things. People are looking to escape from the realities of their life. And listen, I can't solve all your problems. Like, I can't fix your marital issues. I can't fix the issues that you're having, with your friends. But when it comes to the business component and not feeling like you have to escape from what is driving your income, I can help you build a business that you love and where there's more freedom. So let's talk about it. I really think it's critical to always build with the end in mind. That is not a luxury that most people have when they're building a business. Like, most people are building a business because they're like, hey, I have this thing that I'm really good at, I have this thing that I'm really passionate at, or, I want to make this money or whatever it is. And they build and, they kind of see who comes and they refine as they go along, but they're not necessarily building with the end in mind. So what do I mean by building with the end in mind? This is a concept called reverse engineering. And I've talked about that in some other videos, which I will link down below in the description box and also up above. But when we are reverse engineering, when it comes to our life, we have to look at what sort of lifestyle we aspire to, where we want to be, not necessarily where we are right now. And I think a big thing is not necessarily where everybody else and where society thinks we should be. This is really, really important, because if you are using other people's dreams in order to create your own vision of what your future could look like, you might end up in a situation where you have everything you want, but you're not satisfied. And some of you watching this video might relate to that. You might have a good business, right? You might have good revenue coming in, good profit, but you find yourself not satisfied. So this is the thing. We really have to assess what it is that we want based on our values, that end state, that end lifestyle where we feel so lit up and so fired up when we picture ourselves there and when we envision ourselves there. That's what we want the end to be. So for some people, this might be fully location independent. Other folks might have kids and might be tied to a specific location, and that's completely okay, but they want to build their dream house and they want to build their dream office in their hometown. Like, everybody can have their own vision and version of this, and everybody should have their own vision and version of this. So my question to you guys is, what does that end state, what does that dream lifestyle, what does that version of freedom look like for you? Is it more travel? Is it time with family? Is it creative work? I encourage you to actually not be general with this. Like, don't keep it very general. Be very specific. Be very detailed. And there's a very specific level of detail that's required. And to give you guys a little bit of insight into my dream end state, my dream lifestyle that is very specific to me, one of the very detailed aspects, which might be way too TMI for some of you, especially maybe some of the men who are listening to this, but I want my work schedule to be fully synced up with my menstrual cycle. Like, I do not have to work certain weeks. I want to have weeks where I am, feeling more creative, feeling more inspired, so I can do that sort of work, and I want the weeks where I am just ready to go hard, be there to serve clients. Like, I want all of that fully synced up and aligned. Like, that is the level of detail that I'm talking about when you are picturing your end state and your dream lifestyle that we're working towards. Because here's the thing, guys, you have to understand what that version of freedom looks like in order to build a business. And I've given an example before in my masterclass about 10xing your revenue and, working less in your business, where I talk about an interview that I saw with a very successful entrepreneur. I believe it was $20+ million. And she looked like she hated her life, honestly. She genuinely looked like she wanted to burn her business down because it just didn't align with a level of responsibility, a level of overhead, a level of employee count that she just did not want. Genuinely, that is what it seemed like. So once you have that end state in mind, use that to drive and write down your top 3 lifestyle non-negotiables. Because here's the thing, once you know what freedom looks like for you, once you know what you're working towards, it's very easy to understand what the non-negotiables are, right? And I just really want to highlight here that we are doing this because ultimately our business funds our vision. Our business funds our lifestyle, right? Like, that is what we're working towards. We are not creating these businesses. We are not entrepreneurs in order to give ourselves a job within our business, to give ourselves the job of the jack of all trades who wears all of the hats, right? Like, that's not the job we want in our business, because it's not going to give us the outcome that we're looking for if we're looking for more freedom. So you know what the end state looks like. You have your top 3 non-negotiables. And now I want to assess, of those non-negotiables, how many of them are you doing today, right? So if you were saying, okay, in order to get to my dream lifestyle, I need to be 100% location independent, let's say. Well, are you right now at this point in your business required to be physically present at times? Are you required to be physically present on site with a client? or physically present in a specific state or a country for tax purposes. There's a lot of reasons why you might need to be physically present, right? This could be you're required to be physically present because your kids are enrolled in a specific school, and as a result of that, you kind of built a local business where you only serve local clientele. There are so many reasons why you may need to be physically present in your business. And again, that's just one example of something that some folks might have written down, but it's a hint. Like, all of this is breadcrumbs, guys. It's giving us clues, it's giving us context into why we are feeling stuck, why we are feeling drained, why we are on the verge of burnout. It is because we are running this business that is not aligned with where we want to be, right? And we just can't see a way out of it. And it's not going to be easy, guys. Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And if you don't want to do that work alone, like if you know you need the strategic help to build a business where you're working less hours, where you are making more money, then I encourage you to book a call with me down below in the description box. We can jump on a coffee chat and talk about your specific pain points and your specific business in more detail. But ultimately, this is a long road, right? Like, this isn't a quick fix, gonna figure it out in a weekend. No, we have to do a lot of self-work, and this self-work gives us the data that we need in order to make better decisions moving forward when it comes to building a business where we are aligned and where there's more freedom. So now let's talk about that practical roadmap forward and how we can take some of the vision that we're working with, some of the things that we are working towards when it comes to our business and living a business that we are excited for and that lights us up. Take some of that data and start packaging it into actionable steps that we can take. So the first thing is a business audit. I have talked about the idea of a business retrospective before, which I actually was on a podcast called the Effortless Online Systems Podcast with Nivek, where I talk about what a business retrospective entails. And a business audit, there's so much overlap here. Again, if you don't know how to do it, I actually have a 3-day email sequence where every day you will be emailed the prompts to complete in order to have a completed business audit by the end of the 3 days. You can sign up for that down below in the description box. It's completely free. So if you don't know where to start when it comes to a business audit, start there. But ultimately, the outcome of this audit is we want to understand what is working and what is not working. So that's from so many different perspectives. That means from the perspective of what is working in the business in terms of what barriers are there to achieving success, high revenue, more satisfied clients, etc. But also what is working from the perspective of just our business model. What works for us in our business in terms of the offerings that we have, and what is not working for us, especially when you have the lens of where you want to head, when you have that understanding of your non-negotiables. Some of the things that you might have looked at last week and said, well, it's not broken. Yep, it's working. It's just the way, we've operated. It's the way I've done things in business since day one. You might now look at them, now that you've identified them as a non-negotiable, and say, actually, that's not working anymore. That's something that needs to be changed in the future. And you can make those strategic decisions moving forward, but you cannot do that without the audit. Like, the audit is the pulse check of the overall health of your business. And I would argue that so much of the health of your business is also that heart health, that mental health that ensures that you are aligned with your business. The next step is to simplify. So in this bucket of simplifying, guys, you don't have to completely overhaul your life overnight, okay? This is about things being sustainable and about things being practical. So when we talk about simplifying, we are talking about those low-hanging fruit, those opportunities that I would say are probably going to fall into the category of automate or delegate, right? So those things that are taking up a lot of time but shouldn't be, those things that are taking up a lot of energy but shouldn't be, that's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about simplify. Those low hanging fruit in order to take some things off of your plate and free up more of your mental capacity, free up more of your time, and free up more of your energy so that you can be focused on what a CEO should be focused on, right? Which is the strategic work. And unfortunately, some people have not truly had the opportunity to sit in the CEO chair because they have been so focused on being the chief coordinator in their business, the chief, analyst in their business, but not the chief executive officer, right? And that is really what you should be. You should be the brain of your business. You should be living in your zone of genius. But unfortunately, a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to sit in that seat truly, and also to challenge themselves and to stretch themselves by having to focus on the skill set that is required when you sit in that seat, right? When you sit in that seat, you got to be good at problem solving. When you sit in that seat, you got to be a good leader. You got to be good at saying no. You got to be good at delegation. You have to be good at breaking down barriers in order for you to succeed, for your business to succeed, for your team to succeed. Those are all of the things that are required at that CEO level. And you might not be there overnight. That's completely okay. That's completely fine. But where are those low hanging fruit to do things differently in order to give yourself back some time? Because here's the thing, there is nobody that's watching this video and there is nobody that's recording this video that's doing everything perfectly. Okay, all of us have opportunities to improve, and we need to be taking the steps towards doing that. I want to pause here, guys, and remind you to hit that like button down below and also hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying this video. That is what gives me a signal to keep putting out this sort of content. And also feel free to drop a comment on what else you would like a masterclass and a deep dive on. So getting back to our practical roadmap, we have conducted an audit. We have begun to simplify low-hanging fruit. And the next step is to refine and repackage. Because here's the thing, guys, with your new aligned vision of where you're heading towards, with your new understanding of the things that you should be working on in your business because they light you up, and the things that you shouldn't be working on, you are going to have to refine and repackage aspects of your business. So this might be refining your role within the business, right? This might be repackaging existing offers so that they are more in line with the vision that you're headed towards. This might be, increasing your pricing because you've realized that you are looking to serve a different tier of clientele. So we are looking for opportunities to refine and repackage and move us several steps forward towards that outcome that we're looking towards. Again, there's no expectation that any of these things happen overnight, but this is us pulling the trigger on the things that make a big difference when it comes to us feeling like we're no longer stuck in the way that we've always done things, and we are operating with a sense of flow, right? And we are allowing us to step into the energy that is required in order to head towards that ideal vision and that ideal outcome where we want to be. So no pressure to do these all at once. I would really encourage you to take one big step forward when it comes to refining and repackaging. Those are your 3 practical steps that you can take as a result of this video. All of the tools, all of the resources that you need to support you if you do not know where to start are down below in the description box, right? There are downloadables down there for you guys. There is that email audit sequence that's there for you guys. There is a link to book a coffee chat with me if you want personalized and customized support during this process. But ultimately, Rome wasn't built in a day, and the business you love is also not going to be built in a day. But it is on the other side of you taking concerted, dedicated action as opposed to staying stuck, staying defeated, staying drained, and on that verge of burnout. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you drop a like down below or hit that subscribe button and give yourself a big pat on the back for taking the time to invest in the skills, in the steps that are required to create a better outcome for yourself and for your business. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.